split here in the studio then. More from Sean and Jan at half-time. We can now, though, cross to the Wollongong Stadium. The Wind Stadium, if you like, there. We're all ready to go with Jamie Salmon. And first of all, let us say good morning to Mark Robson.
Yes, good morning, chaps. Wollongong in Aboriginal means sound of the sea. It's supposed to be onomatopoeic for the pounding and surging of the waves. And we're right on the Pacific coast here. It's a tremendous setting for a rugby stadium. One particular thing about this ground is that because the wind blows either onshore or offshore, it means it then blows across the pitch. So you very rarely play with the wind or against the wind directly. And that's exactly what it's like tonight. Now, as Tonga march onto the field, it's the Canadians I want to talk about first, because they should be very well motivated for this one. As Jan said, they've never gone through a World Cup campaign without winning a match, and today marks the final Rugby World Cup appearance of the oldest man in the tournament, Al Sharon, and it's also the last game in charge for the coach, Dave Clark. Canada, remember, held the All Blacks for 20 minutes. Tonga couldn't hold them at all, but they feel they have been embarrassed by the All Blacks, and the Polynesians are determined to close their Rugby World Cup with a victory against a nation they've beaten 2 times before. But there's a great atmosphere, a real sense of unity here in Wollongong. The Canadians have been based here for the most of the World Cup, so the townsfolk have really taken them to heart, very much in the way they did in Townsville with the Japanese. Well, Canada have made 7 changes from the game with New Zealand, including the recall of veteran out-half Bob Ross, and Mike James is restored to win his 50th cap. Al Sharon wins a record-setting 76th and captains Canada for a record equaling 25th time. Well, they say love changes everything, and coach Jim Love has made 10 alterations from the team that was crushed by the All Blacks. Only 2 forwards remain, Kivalu and Levaka. The former Harlequin centre Johnny Namu is one of 3 changes behind the scrum. Doing it for Big Al today, the Canadians. Well, we drove down here in the sunshine this morning, about 60 miles away from Sydney. We thought, nice day on the Pacific coast, till we picked up the Illawarra Mercury, the local rag, and to quote, high above the Wind Stadium, the skies will become an air exclusion zone. And somewhere not far away, the Australian Defence Force Black Hawk helicopter units will be on standby to deal with any potential terrorist threat. Well, we hope there is no external threat to this game, but we do imagine, Jimmy Salmon, that it's going to be a very, very physical encounter as we wait for the Sipi Tau, the Polynesian war dance. That's given me the heebie-jeebies. Jimmy, do you agree it'll be pretty physical to start with?
I think this game is not going to be for the faint-hearted at all. I think it'll be a very close contest, and I think the side that defensively is the better organised will probably come through at the end of the day. But I think it's going to be all on, and I think it's going to be a terrific encounter here this evening. And once again, we've got a terrific atmosphere, and much looking forward to it.
We do indeed, and wearing number 4 for Canada, who are in white, is Al Sharon, so watch out for him. He did have that reconstructive knee surgery a short while ago. How he came back from that, nobody is quite sure. After the Wales game, his right knee apparently was pumped full of blood, and how he's got back for this match is truly incredible. Alain Roland is your referee from Ireland, 3 times capped for Ireland international level, one of the very few referees to have played for his country. So the Canadians, through Bob Ross, are going to kick off here. Good crowd here in the Wind Stadium, where the New South Wales Waratahs have played in the past, normally against touring sides. And climbing for the ball there is Milton Namo, the brother of Johnny Namo. So the brothers playing together tonight for this Tongan side. Lilo Martins with the Mohican haircut, not hard to pick out. That's Fife. It's a difficult wind up there tonight, the man who's scored a super try against the Italians.
Got there in the end, didn't he? Didn't quite catch it cleanly. This wind is difficult to judge. It really is. It's swirling a bit, going across the field. So interesting tactics by Tonga. I suspect they want to get it down in the Canadian half and put some pressure on that way. But it'll be interesting how the wind affects the line-outs and the throwing in particular.
This game going live to Canada. It's 3:30 in the morning in Toronto. It's midnight in Vancouver, where they expect an audience of between 10 and 15,000. That's how small rugby really is there, as they battle against ice hockey and NFL and baseball to attract rugby players, and that's a poor pass indeed. It has to be cleared up by Gus Ledger. He did a decent bit of mopping in the end.
Well, he had to. Martin certainly missed about 4 or 5 Tongan players on the way through with that pass. So just going to settle it down a bit, get ball in hand. I'm surprised they haven't put it through the hands to get everybody a touch early on.
Mike James, winning his 50th cap, takes super clean ball in that line-out. Di Girolamo goes to ground. Morgan Williams, formerly of Stade Francais, waits. That's Rod Snow, 53 caps for Canada, vastly experienced, brought forward. Now Bob Ross, the 34-year-old veteran. Winston Stanley. Tongans not getting the first time hits in there, but that's good, clean, quick ball. Di Girolamo, Rod Snow once more, and the ball just smashed out of his arms, but the knock forward came from a Tongan hand. Advantage to Canada, Bob Ross. Little chip and chase, but offside against Tonga, says Alain Roland, who refereed the crunch game between Georgia and Russia in Tbilisi, the World Cup qualifier. And talking to Alan Lewis, who's the TV official before the game, he said it was the most incredible atmosphere he has ever witnessed at a rugby match. It shows you how big the game is in that part of the world.
Well, Canada managed to keep it for 3 or 4 phases then without really looking like penetrating through the defence of Tonga. So they've got to be a bit patient. Bob Ross is going to make sure he calls the right shots, gets his back line working this evening, because I think they will want to go out on the right note.
Mike James starting well on the line out. Bob Ross. Roland gives the penalty. Number 5 not rolling away, and the number 5 is Afeaki, the captain.
don't do anything silly. Okay? No. I talk about the 10 yards from the halfback. Okay? 10 yards.
Well, the referee just cooling it down. I mean, well, the Tongan captain as well. So this is obviously a very kickable. And there's Apiaki, the Tongan captain. Penalty came from this, I presume, for not rolling away Apiaki himself. As you can see there, the captain, as Morgan Williams is sort of ushering him away, and he then, rather reluctantly, then decides to move away. So, good chance to get points on the board.
Bob Ross will take this penalty in his 58th appearance for Canada. Jared Barker started at out half against New Zealand and against Italy. But this man is second on the all-time list for points scored for Canada with 407. It's a very difficult swirling breeze here, gusting tonight. So nothing is easy for a kicker. But he struck that one crisply, and Canada take the lead by 3 points to 0, hoping to record their first victory of this 2003 Rugby World Cup.
Well, they've had most of the ball so far, Canada, and Tonga at the moment don't look frankly organised, and I'm not sure how interested they are, to be perfectly frank with you. There doesn't seem to be the intensity or the passion or the drive to say, right, we are going to get this win and not be bottom of this group today.
Well, they did say they felt embarrassed after the New Zealand performance, and they've got a chance to redress that tonight. And they should be reasonably fresh, because Jim Love has made those huge number of changes in the team. So it's not the side that was battered into submission by New Zealand by 91 points to 7. Taukafa, and he tries to find Milton Namo. Taukafa picks up, goes. Martins, Holla, and that's Ben-Hur Kevalu, has scored a try in this tournament already, and he's played well for Tonga the tournament, probably their best forward. And the whistle's gone. And penalised for Canada is number 12, and that is Girolamo.
Wouldn't have minded it being played on a little bit further then, because it was good advantage to Tonga. Suddenly they did get some good ball retention and getting some second phase ball, but the referee blew up, and a bit like Bob Ross a moment ago, same sort of position really to get back on level terms.
Yes, Alain Roland has been pretty quick on the whistle twice in succession really, with the incident a little bit earlier with Afiaki. As soon as he didn't roll away, he blew the whistle with Canada in a good attacking position. But Pierre Holla, who's been in the starting lineup since Tui Peluto was injured, managed 10 points against Wales, was picked originally as a fullback, but Tui Peluto was injured, slotted into out half, but missed 4 kicks.
Oh, he's missed it. It was a stab, wasn't it? There was no follow through there. There was no rhythm in his run up at all. It took an eternity too. He must have been very close to a minute on the clock. They're only allowed a minute, 60 seconds to go through the whole process and kick the ball. So a let off for Canada.
Very proud history, of course, the Tongans. This is their 4th World Cup. They've beaten France in the past, and that looked like a knock forward. It was. Gus Ledger, crucially, on his own 22, so immediately applying pressure to his own team in a very good attacking position right underneath those Tongan posts for Canada.
Well, there's a spring in the step of the Canadian forwards going towards this scrum. The Tongans were taking an eternity, just what you don't want. Long kick-off and a self-enforced error, and a good opportunity here for Canada. I suspect they'll go right with the back row move rather. Josh Jackson at number 8. Very physical player, but I think we'll see a move going to the right and trying to bring the other backs in.
They do look a little bit disinterested, the Tongan team at this stage. Now, Josh Jackson has been the best player for Canada at this World Cup, and then it'll chip through from Morgan Williams. And that's well taken by Salilo Martins. Pick up and go by Johnny Milton Namo, beg your pardon, the brother. Hola. Putting his defence in all sorts of trouble there. Tackled by Mark Lawson, well played by the hooker to sack the quarterback, if you like. To use a Canadian NFL term, and it's no release. He was under so much pressure there in the end that he was forced to give away the penalty.
Well, there wasn't the most sensible of options, A, to go in, and B, to keep hold of it. And Alan Roland was right on the spot and has told them exactly what the form was, and much as Afiaki, the captain, was protesting. Interesting decision this.
Go for the drive, but obstruction in there. Penalty to Tonga.
Why do that move at this stage of the game? Why not get 6-0 up? Very odd decision by Al Sharon, vastly experienced captain, as we've said throughout the tournament. But I am massively surprised. I wouldn't mind just seeing a cutaway of Dave Clark, the Canadian coach, to see what he thinks of that. That's obstruction, because the ball's already at the back. You cannot have a flying wedge or a already started maul, if you like, because there's no way Tonga can defend that. So again, the referee quite right, and a ridiculous, I think, error by Canada.
Well, you'd think when they'd worked that move out in the training paddock, they might have discovered that it would maybe be an offside if they tried it. Martins, Holla, more time this time. And a decent thump from Pierre Holla, who scored a try against New Zealand.
Anyway, perhaps Al Sharon will rethink his tactics on penalties and things like that, and not be so impulsive.
Mark Lawson, he's a good athlete, is Josh Jackson, the number 8. Winning just his 6th cap, but a big hope for the future. There was no place in this squad for Phil Murphy, who you remember from Perpignan, now London Irish. So that's how much they rate this 23-year-old number 8. Got to play it in 5 seconds, says the referee, because the ball had become static. Morgan Williams. Now, Di Girolamo looking wide to Winston Stanley. Winston Stanley, the top try scorer in Canadian history. Well, he's certainly talking to the players, as Alan Rowland, giving a lot of information out. Al Sharon. 37 years and 94 days, his age to be exact. Bob Ross chips through. Good covering back. Salilo Martins it was, the scrum half, with great Welsh experience. The ball wasn't out there as a Welsh hand came in to play it from the side.
Brilliant play by Martins, the scrum half, down on the ball. That's Morgan Williams, who was penalised for going round the side too early. But that's Martins down on it, and they retain the ball, and you'll see Williams, there he is. Too early, ball wasn't out, said Alain Roland. It was a pity in that Canadian move. It came out to Winston Stanley on the left, and he elected not to go on the outside. And much as he might not beat his opposite number on the outside, it does create a bit of space inside for an inside pass.
Afiaki, captain, back after a knee injury, very important player to this side. A lot of penalties in the early stages of this game. We haven't found a flow or a rhythm quite yet. And it's Adam van Staveren who is penalised of the Bayside club. Amateur player, insurance broker.
I think Tonga will very much want a free flow in game 2. They won't want this stop-start scenario that's happening at the moment, which both sides are going to tighten up on and make sure they don't give the penalties away.
Tokafa goes deep looking for his captain. Didn't go to the man that they hoped it would go to, but it's Ben-Hur Kivalu who collects the ball. Salilo Martins waits. Now it's Holla. Maybe a chance to move it wide through Johnny Namo. Martins, Holla. Coming in off the wing is Fonua, 106 kilograms of wing. Both wingers are over 100 kilograms. Fafita in his debut is 108. Now that's a good run by Foth. Morgan Williams back to Bob Ross, Fife outside him. Big yardage, and that's the direction the wind is blowing. There's a windsock at this ground. It's the only ground in the world where I've seen a windsock, so you can tell exactly what direction the breeze is blowing in.
Perhaps it might start a trend.
I've seen plenty of wind bags at rugby grounds, but not windsocks. So Kappa, and it is hard to throw the ball in straight. That didn't look straight to me. Taken by Milton Namo. Afiyaki lets the ball go, and now here's... Oh, it's a knock forward, the pass from Pierre Holla. So a bundle full of errors in this match so far. It's a very stringent refereeing from Alan Rowland.
Yes, but a lot of the basic skills aren't helping either side. I mean, that's just a straight scissor movement, and it's gone to ground, which is very poor.
Johnny Namo, who knocked it on, now with Montferrand, formerly of Harlequin, so JB knows him well. Josh Jackson picks up Morgan Williams, put under a lot of pressure from Fafita. Enthusiastic on his debut. Oh, and Mike James. De Girolamo up very, very quickly indeed was Nafahu. Must stay on your feet, Mark Lawson, says Alan Rowland. So a penalty, maybe not quite kickable, into the crosswind for Pierre Holla. So the chances are that he'll stick it in the corner.
Again, another self-enforced error though, this time by Canada, going straight to ground as he entered the ruck. Girolamo came through, there he goes through, on the top of the screen, can't quite see it, but because Namu's blocking the way, but Lawson, the hooker, came straight down off his feet, and that's where he got pinged for.
The defeat for Tonga would be their longest ever losing streak in a World Cup. That's a good take by Namo. The ball have been formed, says Alan Rowland, so another penalty to Tonga. That is very, very stop-start.
Tonga electing just to keep putting the pressure on, keep them down there. I'm not sure they're the sort that go for a catch and drive with a line out, but we will see. But puts obviously a bit of pressure on Taukapa, the hooker, to find his man, get the right call, get it organised, and no self-enforced errors. Let's put a few phases together and try and turn some pressure into points.
Namo is 4, Afiyaki is 5, Ben-Hur Kivalu is at the tail, and it's Milton Namo. Now Kappa in to help. Now Ben-Hur Kivalu, who scored a try from a similar position to this one. The drive is taken on by number 7, Tuamo Heloa. They're a metre short now. It's a great position this for Tonga. Kivalu. Did they get the ball grounded? The referee, Alan Rowland, says yes. It's a Tongan try. It's their 20th try in World Cup history. And eventually, it's the captain who burrows over the line, Enoki Afiyaki.
Well, they stayed patient. There's Afiyaki there. You can see it coming. And just gets it on the line. On the line's good enough. There's nothing wrong with that. But he certainly wasn't give that ball up, was he? Just gets it over there. So they put on the pressure and they got their point. So they'll be very, very pleased with that. If they can add the extra 2, having been let off by that Canadian decision not to kick for goal 5 minutes or so ago. Turnaround time.
Pretty proud of their forward play down in Tonga, and it was the catch and drive. And Afiyaki, very experienced player, over 200 games for Wellington. His father played for Tonga as well, so a proud moment for the family as Pierre Holla attempts to add the extra points, which he does. Good strike. It is, let me remind you, very, very difficult out there in terms of kicking conditions in this gusting southwesterly. The wind is completely turned round today.
Well, there we see it once again. They stayed patient, established the maul. Well done, captain.
Is that obstruction there? The referee says no. It was close to it. Martins. And he finds a good touch. Salilo Martins, 26 years of age, had 2 seasons with Swansea, now with the Celtic Warriors. So when they played against Wales, he knew, well, half a dozen of the Welsh opposition were teammates of his at club level. So they must have known his every trick.
5-man line out from Canada this time, trying to vary their options.
Josh Jackson. Sort of guy you think would be successful in any sport he lent his hand to. He's one of these all-round talented guys, and Mark Lawson has been a revelation at hooker for Canada, into the squad for Pat Dunkley, who suffered a rib injury in training. Now Bob Ross looking to the midfield. It's Di Girolamo. Interesting move. Winston Stanley's come off the left wing. Twist and turn, but he's tackled by Johnny Namo. Morgan Williams, it's good ball. Up very quickly was Pierre Holla, and now it's driven on by James Cudmore. Williams waits once more. Bob Ross using the big forwards on the inside. Rod Snow this time. Morgan Williams to Bob Ross into midfield, and it's Nick Witkowski, the former Swansea centre. But that's better tackling by Tonga. They've maybe been inspired and lifted by that try from their captain, and they've won the ball too. So they seem to be realising an interest as this match develops. That's Ben-Hur Kevalu. It's not a good ball though. Winston Stanley knocked it forward.
Well, they got away with it there, Tonga, but Canada will be very disappointed. It was a turnover that enabled Tonga to get the ball back. They won't be happy with that at all. And that Winston Stanley knock-on gives Tonga the scrum as we go down the line of the corrugated iron bench, or whatever it is down there. But they often see those over here, do you? They're normally sat out on the pitch, on the oval grounds as they call them, but this is very much a Union and League ground, so all much closer to the action.
A lot of the big touring sides have played here over the years.
We go again.
It is a rugby league ground normally though.
It's coming across, I want a square. It's coming across, I want a square.
The St George Illawarra Dragons play here, 11 times Premiership champions, and the record crowd is just over 18,000. They may have beaten that tonight. We'll check that later on for you, but it looks pretty packed to me. And as usual, the Australians really supporting this Rugby World Cup. Even matches between minnows like these two, Canada and Tonga. As Tonga again using their forward power. Salilo Martins to Pierre Holla. Johnny Namo in midfield. And coming in the burst is John Payne. Martins, oh, interesting little reverse flick there, that worked well. Here's Holla. He can dance, he can jive, he can move. We've seen that in the past of this World Cup. Johnny Namo is strong. He's a bullish centre. But over the top.
Number 2, particular.
Bit unlucky in some ways because there was no Canadian players there to stop them. There's Namu going in, and then you've got Van Staveren and Lawson there, but they've cleared them out of the way, and then I think they've just fallen over rather accidentally, to be honest with you, rather than deliberately go over the top. They wouldn't deliberately go over the top to kill the ball. It's coming back their side, so a little bit unlucky, I feel.
Well, coming up tomorrow on ITV2, the Battle of York Park. Launceston is the venue for Tasmania's first ever rugby test, as Romania match it with Namibia from 8:40 AM. That's all coming up on ITV's exclusively live 2003 Rugby World Cup coverage. ITV.com/RWC is the website. Mike James taking that ball. Here's Bob Ross again. It's John Payne crashing into midfield. Good tackle by Tuamo Heloa. Williams, Cudmore. Canada using the back row, a big back row that they have as much as they possibly can, but just managing to secure possession there. They have themselves in trouble. Al Sharon, so Canada a little bit on the back foot here, but penalised for Tonga was Tuamo Heloa. Morgan Williams taking it quickly. I'm sure they weren't 10, but he's playing advantage, the referee. Knocked forward by Quentin Fife, but number 5 offside. You could probably hear Alain Roland, and that's the captain, Enoki Afeaki. Very kickable position for Bob Ross.
Well, once again explaining to Afeaki in relation to that. Morgan Williams took it very quickly and went straight, well, some would argue, what Afiaki's arguing is he went straight into a Tongan player, so he therefore couldn't get out of the way. This is probably the first penalty. Sharon goes down, I think it is. There's Tuamo Hulia. What's his name? Tuamo Hulia?
Tuamo Haloa.
Haloa, beg your pardon. But this is, well, it should be practiced ground stuff, this, for Bob Ross.
And the professional fishing guide hooks another 3 points here at the seaside in Wollongong.
Well, you can't honestly say that Canada have put a lot of pressure or spent a lot of time in the Tongan 22. It's mainly because of Tongan mistakes that's enabled them to not stay in the game so much, because it's relatively early in the proceedings. But they've taken their chances, and Tonga probably only have themselves to blame.
I tell you what, we're under attack here at the moment from about 300 seagulls. It's like I've seen from an Alfred Hitchcock movie. Hope they're not going to target the players. Advantage is played to Kappa. Oh, great run from him. That's brilliant from the hooker. Fabulous stuff from Kappa, and a great chance now for the front row Union to score a try for Tonga. Superb stuff. Ball is released. Salilo Martins, they've got to get it wide. There's players over. Oh, they should surely have scored there. Now Fahu losing the ball forward with 2 or 3 Tongans to his right. They should have breached the Canadian line there.
And there goes the glory. It's the biggest overlap I've seen in a long time, to be perfectly frank with you. It was a 4-1, 5-1, and all initiated by Taukappa, who must have world record dummies in a row by hooker now after that run. It was quite amazing.
Well, it was Polynesian pandemonium there for a couple of seconds, but I tell you, they really should have been more aware. Maybe if they had England's spatial coach, they might have scored there.
Visualisation coach. Here's our dummy man. There we go. Ooh, okay. And again, hand off. Girolamo out of the way. Goes to Grant. It was great ball, quick ball, and it was a huge overlap, I assure you.
Well, he works as a butcher, that fella, and he certainly slashed through that Canadian defence there. He's a big side of beef too, 112 kilograms, the hooker. Dare I say, filleting the Canadians? Should I say that?
I think moving swiftly on to this Canadian scrum, 5 metres out, whether they can hold them up. Important scrum for this, Canada. But it's certainly been Tongan who have looked like scoring some tries. Canada haven't breached their defence or made great inroads into Tongan territory or in behind them. So certainly Tonga looked the more creative, and actually I think they've scored a few tries in their previous games anyway, so they've got confidence in that ability, I feel.
Yeah, they've scored 6 tries in the tournament, and it's interesting, their pack looks more dynamic than the Canadian pack at the moment. Certainly when they get the ball in hand, they have tremendous enthusiasm. Defensively, they've given away a lot of penalties and made a lot of errors in that department. Loose head for Canada is very experienced Rod Snow. Morgan Williams feeds. Decent strummage from the Canadians. Bob Ross, not an easy ball to deal with, but he has the wind behind him in that direction, which means he can find a huge touch. So using the elements well, Bob Ross.
Yeah, did very well, because it was a long pass from Williams. Williams did even better to find him, really, because he knew he had to go to the right. It's just by the post there, you see. That's a hell of a hoof, that is. It's nigh on halfway, so that's certainly relieved the pressure.
Is hell of a hoof not playing in the back row for Tonga?
He might well be. He might very well be. All I know is Taukappa is about to throw the thing in, and if he gets the ball again, I bet he doesn't pass it and goes to another dummy.
Well, Sean Fitzpatrick in the studio will be a jealous man. Can't remember him doing that too many times.
They're down 14.
Tonga down to 14 men at the moment.
He's being strapped, no substitution.
No substitution, no substitute coming on. It's one of the props. There's no scrummage, so that's fine. But if there had been a scrum, you would have had to bring a prop on for it.
Okay, he's being substituted now. Okay, he's being substituted now. No, listen, hold it.
He's now saying, I don't want to go on, I want to stay on. Lavaka, the tight head prop. Let's have a listen.
Okay, we play.
So I'm playing.
He's staying on.
I don't think Orland wanted to argue with him either. No.
Keep the gaps wide, please, keep the gaps.
Eastern Suburbs tight head. Now the throw in from the sidestepping. Toikafa. Well, he's got his running lines right, but not his throwing patterns. And Canadian ball. Bob Ross looking to spread it once more, getting it to Winston Stanley, but he was taking the ball standing still. And I think they've just mullered a seagull. Well, there's feathers and fur flying everywhere now in this match, and I mean it literally. Ooh, good tackle there on the 106-kilogram left wing, Stone Fanua. And here's the other one, and he's a big guy too, Fafita, 108 kilograms. Again, looking for the width. Winston Stanley has hit hard. It's a good tackle. He's having a good game, that hooker, you know. Toikafu. And at the moment, I think it's Witkowski is getting some treatment after that collision. He doesn't look too well at all.
He got caught big time. And I think it was Gus Ledger coming through. This is certainly the incident where our feathered friend loses a few, and they're going to concentrate on that more than how Witkowski got his injury, unfortunately, because he got a hell of a thump. I think it was Gus Ledger who picked up that ball, or indeed Fafita. I'm not sure which one, but certainly Witkowski was coming through, and he got clobbered big time. Now here it is. Now. That's there. Watch the feet now as well.
Oh.
Now that was Fafita on the right wing, and that was his foot coming down on his face, and it wasn't the initial collision. It was the follow through with the foot. Now, I'm not saying it's deliberate, but I wouldn't mind seeing it again. Put it that way.
It wasn't so much Fafita as Fafutin.
Watch the right foot, left foot there.
Oh.
Now is that deliberate or not? That's just been played on the big screen. Now let's have a look. Left foot. Oh, that is nasty, and Witkowski is leaving the field. There you are, you can see it there.
Yeah, interesting to hear what the boys have to say about that at half-time, but you're inclined to know if somebody's underneath you, aren't you? It looked like he really did force that left foot down. The RS DCB, whatever you call it, we called it to look after the seagull, by the way. That's the latest news. That was very, very crooked indeed. By the way, got some news for you. We expect sometime in the next 30 minutes an announcement from the IRB regarding England's 16-man situation, and we'll bring you that, obviously, as soon as we get it.
Right, I think that bit of footage that we've just seen there for Witkowski's depth of field might be moved upstairs, as they say, as well, for a bit of private viewing at some stage.
Absolutely. Bob Ross, again missing players out in midfield, bringing Forth in from the wing. No obstruction from Digirolamo. So Canada very clearly trying to move the ball wide and miss men out. That's Bob Ross, again the wind behind, using that diagonal. Strength of breeze to Canadian advantage.
The problem Canada have had is staying down there. They haven't had a couple of line-outs, 2 or 3 scrums, or 2 or 3 phases of play around the 22 area and try and turn the pressure into points like Tonga did.
I want to set earlier in the line-out. I want the ball in quicker. I want to set earlier. Too many guys wandering around. You guys, you keep the space. Until the ball is thrown, you please keep the space. Time on, please.
Canada have had the possession. Tonga have the points. The only try of the match so far. And Afiaki has scored it. Milton Namo taps for Martins, and very quickly up was Van Staveren on Holla, but Holla's done well to wriggle his way out of that. He's being chased by the whole of Canada and 30 seagulls. Back gets Winston Stanley. Well, the Seagulls are keeping up with play remarkably well. Here comes Tuamo Heloa. But a penalty for holding on to the Canada. I like the way the Seagulls follow the Sea Eagles. I mean, there's an irony in that.
Well, it was a terrific break by Holla, right through the middle. Probably shouldn't have got anywhere near getting through the entire Canadian forward pack. He is left-footed, so a little chip over the top. Winston Stanley back to not save the day because he missed touch. But this is the holding on of Gus Ledger, number 15.
Ten minutes to the break. It's been extremely competitive. Josh Jackson again, superb in the line-out. Bob Ross missing the man in midfield. It's Dira Giramo. The ball was not knocked forward though, so play goes on. Morgan Williams, Bob Ross looking for the gap. Big hit coming in there on Cudmore. Slow ball though for Canada. Tonga reorganised as Williams looks wide to Van Staveren. Into the line is Ryan Smith. Morgan Williams, Bob Ross, diminutive figure of Ross. The dummy runner there was Josh Jackson. A lot of mismoves in these Canadian attacks, and that is Fife coming in. Stanley, but good drift defence by the Tongans. But certainly Canada trying to get the ball wide at every opportunity in this first half.
Yes, they certainly are. Certainly going right to left, but they just lack a yard of pace. I think Canada. I think probably Fife at fullback's the quickest. But they can't get him into space at the moment because Winston Stanley, with respect, is not a flyer on the left wing.
66th cap for the Leeds Tigers player. So Toikafa, Milton Namo, the dummy at the back of the line out. Number 2 was the choice. Martins, who's managing to stay inside his 22, but missing touch into the wind. Winston Stanley fans Fife. Stanley again, good step from Stanley. That's the halfway line, options right and left. Fife coming into the line, looking for Smith, and now the tight head prop, Garth Cook. Playing in his second match of this Rugby World Cup. Garth Cook and involved in loose play at last. And again, it's the big man in midfield, Jimmy Cudmore. Not a knock forward, says the referee, and neither was that, Bob Ross, but it's chaotic in the Canadian midfield. It did go forward, though.
Just a little panicky, wasn't it? It just wasn't controlled or very precise. And it goes, there he goes. Back again, thank you very much. Pass the parcel, who's going to open it? Thank you very much. Tongan scrum. Anyway, good attacking position for them. See what they elect to do tactically with 7 or 8 minutes to go. They'd love to get something else on the board to take into the break.
Martins, good scrummage. Ben-Hur Kivalu knocks forward though in the act of picking the ball up, so the advantage goes to Canada. Josh Jackson is on the chase. Morgan Williams is there too. That's Van Staveren, back row doing its job well. It's well recovered though by the Tongans. Here's Holla. Now they're going to try and move it here. And that was Fanua almost getting through.
You guys were diving in.
Canada
take the knock on here.
Diving in, several of them. These two sides have met once before in the Rugby World Cup. That was in 1987 when Canada won comfortably, and a certain Gareth Rees was playing that day at the age of 18 years. What a servant he was to Canadian rugby.
Williams.
Jackson waiting to pick up, and that's a poor ball back from Josh Jackson, but the Tongan scrummage is going to be penalised actually at Salilo Martins for offside. So with the wind actually changing direction, it's blowing even more across the pitch than it was at kickoff. A chance for Bob Ross, but he'll have to guide this one in. from left to right. Not an easy kick for him.
And to take the lead, which I'm not sure that Canada deserve, to be honest with you. I think they haven't created a lot. There's been a willingness to throw it out wide, much wider than I've seen Canada in the past, to be honest. But they just lack that penetration, that guile, or that creativity to really get in behind the Tongan defence. And they've been aided a bit by Tonga's own mistakes and what have you, which is fairly typical. This is a big kick in every way for Bob Ross.
Well, he did guide it in, didn't he? It was, you know, he drifted it from left to right. He used the wind to carry the ball in. So a very intelligent kick from the very experienced out half, and Canada now lead by 9 points to 7 as half-time approaches.
Well, they're taking their time getting back to the middle. Pierre Holla, rather unusually for a left-footer, kicking left-footer normally kicks right, because the ball would therefore go away from the forwards, but they've gone left.
Jackson. That's Van Staveren. He's a Josh Jackson doppelganger, is Van Staveren. Morgan Williams, Bob Ross. Interesting. Gives the ball straight back to Gus Ledger. In off the wing is Sinoe Fanua, a hulk of a man for a back. Salilo Martins. Accidental offside, I think.
Went the wrong way, it was on left for Martins. It wasn't his break, I didn't think. Holla was screaming for it on the short side, his left. And he instead fools the cameraman almost, and just, I think now Fahu was in his way, number 6 I think, so hence the scrum to Canada.
Oh, Roland just explaining that decision to Afiaki, former Wellington second row forward. Scrummage of concrete. Bob Ross and charge down, play on, says the referee. Milton Namo gets the ball to Tuamo Heloa, and this front row is very mobile. That's Leah Aitoa, Martins, Johnny Namo, strong but didn't manage to breach the defence that time. Afiaki, Martins checking his options. The numbers were out left. It's Pierre Holla, but the Canadian defence was strong and well organised there. 3 minutes to go to half-time. Just 2 points in it.
Unplayable, red ball.
And the ball unplayable in there, and Tonga get to put in to the scrummage here.
Well, I hope they not rethink their back row moves, but execute them a bit better. The last one in a promising position. Ben Kavalu trying to pick it up one-handed, and of course one tap on his arm meant that knock forward. Just greater control and discipline is what they need.
They've won 2 World Cup matches of Tonga in their history. They beat Italy in '99, they beat the Ivory Coast in '95. They want the hat-trick tonight. It looks like it's going to be a tight encounter all the way through. These two sides are well matched.
I think where Tonga are going to struggle is that Canada seem to have the ascendancy in the set piece and the scrums, and a wheeling Tonga, as we look at Jim Love, who's actually the next door box to us. It's a piece of useless information for you, but he's looking on at his team's first half performance, and he'll be concerned with the lack of quality ball from the scrum in particular.
We've got an IRB announcement that there'll be an independent hearing into England's 16-man situation against Samoa at 7 AM BST tomorrow, so I'm sure we'll hear more on that at half-time.
Oh, so 5 days later they might come to a conclusion. Nothing is quick, it seems, in the IRB, but there we go.
We need to oil the cogs, the IRB, I think.
Unfortunately, England brought their own lawyer, so as with most other things that they require, they've got their own man on the ground.
They've thought of everything, haven't they, England?
Well, apart from fielding 16 men at one time.
Apart from that, they brought their own hairdresser. Keith Wood did. That's Milton Namo getting help from Naufahu. Tell you what, this Tongan pack has looked very, very energetic when driving forward, and with a lot of ideas and skill too. Kivalu. Now, can they take the right options this time? Salilo Martins. Holla, little dummy from him, very Tony Wardian if you like. I've seen him do that before. Now it's picked up by Sione Fonua. Just outside the 22, hands away, says Alan Roland. I fancy a penalty's coming here. There seem to be a lot of Canadian players over the top of the ball. But he's blown his whistle for half-time. And it's the Canadians who lead by 9 points to 7. The players nip off for their half-time cup of tea, and the Seagulls retire for their half-time sardine.
Straight back to windy Wollongong. Canada 9, Tonga 7. A little bit of regrouping going on from the Tongans. Both teams, to remind you, have lost all their matches so far. Let us rejoin our commentary team. Jamie Salmon and Mark Robson.
Thank you, Jim. Yes, they've been playing a selection of YMCA records during the half-time break. I'm not sure if that's exactly the right choice of music to play at a rugby international, but it's been very tuneful. What sort of second half do you expect, Jamie Salmon?
Well, I think it's going to be a pretty nervous second half, much like the first, really. It's a wooden spoon game, if I can put it that way. No side wants to go away from this tournament with a lost 4 record. Not one side's going to do it, unless we get a draw, of course. So it'll be pretty frantic, I suspect.
No replacements amongst the Seagulls, you'll be pleased to hear. So it's as selected. There are replacements on, though, in the Canadian and Tongan sides. On for Canada is Kevin Fatchuk, the prop forward who scored a try against Wales from the bench.
First one was fine, the second one came over the top and over.
Well, it's a bit like the first half, another penalty to start proceedings off. And it's probably the side that stays the most patient and believes in itself as well that's going to come through at the end today. Bob Ross is going to be instrumental in all the proceedings, no doubt, and hopefully it's not just with his kicking game.
Rod Snow has been replaced, the loose head prop. That's taken by Josh Jackson. Morgan Williams, good pass, and coming on to the ball at pace is Ryan Smith. That's Mark Lawson, the hooker. Morgan Williams, Bob Ross. Again, they're looking for width, and coming into the line is Di Girolamo, but holding on against Canada. Tonga get the penalty. So every time Canada do try to move the ball wide, it's rarely conclusive. They don't seem to be able to break through this Tongan line, and then they're giving away penalties and making errors.
Yeah, they can't get a clean break through, can they? This is Girolamo going straight into John Payne, and he's a bit isolated. There's Winston Stanley, number 11, coming in, but the Tongan man's there first. Stanley tries to sweep over, but Girolamo held on, hence the penalty.
Tongan's turn to use that strong diagonal breeze here in front of this packed crowd at the Wind Stadium. Toikafa. It's not a great throw, and Canada turned the ball over. Bob Ross to Girolamo. This time they decide against the width and a little bit of variation. They go infield. Mark Lawson's had a good game and a good tournament. Now Bob Ross. This time they do try width through Quentin Fife. Maybe caught a little bit high there by Ben Hurikovalu, and now they've got numbers. They can move it wide. They need a better pass though. Halfway line, Morgan Williams. And that's a good pass out to Winston Stanley there. from Ryan Smith, who's on for Nick Witkowski, but once again Canada conceding a penalty, diving in, and the penalty count against the Canadians is beginning to grow.
Pity they just can't get third, fourth phase, and Stanley, who was sweeping out the previous ruck, goes in, and there's Mark Lawson, number 2, who's the first man there for Canada, and I presume it was him that was penalised on that occasion as Tonga relieve the pressure and get it down just outside the 22.
Kiliami Vaki as a replacement for the Tongans. Prize for Parma, and appropriately picked up a yellow card against Italy. Namo, not good hands from Milton Namo, but it's the sidestepping hooker who drives forward again. No sidestep this time from Taukapa, but he makes ground, and now it's Vaki, the flank forward, who sets the ball for Solilo Martins. Martins, I think, knocked the ball forward there at the act of contact. Yep, Alan Rowland agrees, and it's a scrummage to the Canadians, but really it's been an error-riddled sort of match.
Yes, it certainly has. Ball just slipping out of Martins' hand. The referee didn't see it. He was alerted to it by one of his touch judges. Otherwise, Canada would have felt rather aggrieved. That's the... Did look good in one of those.
I'm thinking of it. It is a pity, though, Jamie, really. You know, you look at the Tongan side, Samoa and Fiji, and they do lose a lot of players. They produce some great names over the years, Lomu Ofahengawe. And it was interesting to hear John O'Neill, the Australian Rugby Union chief executive, say recently, we've got to avoid a systematic raping of the islands. So they're looking at the problem, because the real fear is that rugby will die in these countries. They're talking about a combined Pacific Islands team, but that will cause its own problems.
Well, I don't think that'll work at all, personally. One of the major problems is there isn't a really competitive club structure within those islands, and the quality players therefore go and seek better quality rugby, understandably and probably rightly, in the likes of New Zealand and Australia and to Japan, and they can earn a greater living. Which, if that's your profession, you can't stop a guy doing it.
Absolutely right. Bob Ross looking for touch. Beautiful spiral kick, but not great direction. And now here's Big Fafita, 108 kilograms, and it took Jamie Cudmore's wrestling ability to bring him to ground. Solilo Martins. And now looking for the whip. That's another bad pass into midfield. It puts the centres under all sorts of pressure. Johnny Namo does well to pick the ball up. It was good hands from him there. Now Solilo Martins, but knocked forward in a scrummage to Canada. But yes, can you imagine being at a selection committee for the Pacific Islands team with Tongans, Samoans and Fijians fighting amongst themselves? Who's going to play scrum half?
I just don't think it's going to be on the agenda. I just cannot see it possibly happening, as Martins just gets a little bit frantic. He's going to stay pretty cool in the second half as the chap that gets the ball most. But it is a concern, and it should be very high on page 1 of the IRB list of things to do.
Josh Jackson, good scrummage it was too. Morgan Williams, another bad pass. When the ball gets away from the base of the scrummage in the tight phases, the passing really has been dreadful. Morgan Williams, Bob Ross, and this indecision all over the place now in this game. You can see why they have lost 6 matches between them in this Rugby World Cup, it has to be said. Now Al Sharon running sideways and gin trapped by that Tongan midfield. Big numbers here have Canada. Offside against the Tongans. No advantage. It was Pierre Holla who was penalised.
Canada are certainly better at retaining the ball, but it's the sideways shuffle at the moment. It's going from one side to t'other without anybody breaking through and getting a real clear opportunity. So one must compliment the defensive organisation of the Tongans, but it just needs a little bit of variation and width.
Well, there's Dave Clark. It's his last game in charge of Canada. The Queenslander was with them from 57 to 76. His first match was against Tonga when Canada won 29-11, and his last match will also be against the Tongans. But just hearing some interviews before the game, you sort of got the feeling there was a little bit of dissension in this Canadian camp. They weren't quite totally bonded as a unit. Bob Ross. 3 successful kicks in the first half. Not this time, it was close though. Once more, well, he has to use the wind, but he tried to use it intelligently, and it was only a yard away.
It certainly was. It was a good strike. He struck it well. That's for sure. But no, the Canadian coaching job is up for grabs after this World Cup. Dave Clark has said that I'm out of here. Johnny Nama looks as though he might be coming off.
Suka Hufanga comes on for Johnny Nama, one of the few home-based players in this Tongan squad on his first World Cup. Started in the centre against the Welsh. Holla hoofs it. Winston Stanley, Josh Jackson. Good twist and turn. An old NFL style that's become so popular in rugby union. Morgan Williams, Mark Lawson tackled neck and shoulders by Vika. That's Al Sharon. Al Sharon, who makes old war horses look like old war horses. He's been around for so long.
Tackle around the neck. Okay, did you get a number? Okay, restart 5.
It's Andy Turner, the touch judge, coming in with his feelings known on a high tackle, which results in this Canadian penalty.
Well, that's a good kick, isn't it?
It was very, very close. That's the high tackle there. Vanami Vaki, I think, on that tackle.
Yeah, 1 yellow card already in the tournament for the excitable Vaki. Now what a position here. I think Mark Lawson agrees with the line-out call. No, we're not doing that. But it works well. Josh Jackson. 17 is Takachuk. The ball mustn't stop. They've got to keep the drive going, and it's good defence from the Tongan forwards. Al Sharon looks to pick it up. Help from Mike James, number 5. Use it or lose it. And they're moving it close to that Tongan line. Morgan Williams takes a look, took his eyes off the ball. Adams Van Staveren wasn't quite sure what to do. Josh Jackson on his shoulder, half a metre short now. Alain Roland will have to look very carefully here. Scrummage Canada.
Canada have certainly looked the stronger in the scrummage. They would obviously like to score, but they won't mind coming back for the 5-metre scrum. That would have sapped a bit of energy out of the Tongan tight forwards, a bit slower to get up, for obvious reasons. Now, this is where the decision-making process becomes pretty important between Josh Jackson, number 8, Morgan Williams at scrum half, and Bob Ross at fly half. But I'm not convinced it's going to get right down the back line.
They have a big, powerful back row, do Canada. Morgan Williams, Bob Ross again. It's a training ground move. Winston Stanley gets it wide. It should be a try in the corner. And Canada have scored through Sean Foth. It was brilliantly orchestrated, and Bob Ross was right at the centre of it. His 3rd try for Canada on his 29th appearance. But Jamie, what about this?
Well, it's great to see off a set piece, a side running it. There's the big hole that Ross created, and then it's just a question of receive and give and run some lines. But certainly Gus Ledger was caught in no man's land, clear overlap. Unfortunately, Foth takes it at pace and therefore can get in quite comfortably. Nicely executed, and great to see from a set piece a side prepared to go wide, which is not a hallmark of Canadian rugby, to be frank.
Well, the Lumberjacks linked perfectly there, and Sean Foth increases the Canadian lead here. Well, they've been trying to move it wide all night, Canada, with little success. But when it mattered, it worked. Actually, I thought Bob Ross might have been through on his own there. There was a gaping hole, but he decided to use the man wide.
Not to be this time, but he'll be highly delighted that the move, I presume he called, or said to Morgan Williams, I want it, as we see it one last time. Loop round. Wolamo was the dummy runner, and there was an all-in policy that time because it was more Winston Stanley coming in from the blind side, so they had every back in, which created the extra room and the extra man.
So the second try of the game, advantage to Tonga, ball knocked forward by Mike James. Canada, to remind you, playing in white. Here's Hola. Now Fahu sets it well for Martins. Hola. Midfield, it's John Payne for Tonga, and support from the big prop forward Lavaka. He's had a couple of storming runs in this game. Afiaki, the captain, is in there, helped by the right winger Fafita, who's as big as a flanker. Here's Hola into midfield, and number 21 there is Hufanga, the replacement. Toikafa getting ever closer to that Canadian line, taken on by Vaki. 10 metres short now, maybe should have gone on the open side there. It's now Kafa. They're going to get another chance. They'll go on the open side this time. They've got big numbers. Now Kafa. Quick ball essential here. They're not going to get it, but the referee's going to bring them back for offside against Winston Stanley. Good phases from the Tongans. Maybe the wrong options at times, but my goodness, they have a mobile front row.
They certainly do, but I just thought the referee, once again, he could see the ball in that ruck. Why couldn't he carry on playing advantage? You can kick a goal, obviously, but it's a hell of a kick. It's 5 yards in, you know, right near the touchline, so they'll probably put it into the corner and go for the line-out option, which they scored a try from in the first half. But, you know, I just felt that advantage could have been played a bit longer there.
If you're going to be harsh, I think it's 3 times now Alan Rowland has failed to play the advantage adequately. Toikafa. Milton Namo, it didn't work there for the Tongans. There's a lot of feet standing in there, and the Tongans get the put into the scrummage. Big roar goes round the stadium. They have good support here tonight.
Line-out did not work as Tonga would have liked. I don't think there was a knock on there from Tonga, which I thought might have been the case. It was Canada who are backpedaling rather quickly.
Martins, Ben-Hur, Cavallo picks up. Martins, Hola. Oh, it's a good tackle in midfield. It's a great tackle by Ryan Smith, who's made an impact since he came on. Pierre Hola, it wasn't a good pass, but he's a good runner with ball in hand. He's good off both feet, and it's pick up and go. The whistle's gone, and there was some holding going on there amongst the Tongan forwards, and Milton Namo is the man who's caught on, because it looked as if Leah Aitoa was clean through.
Well, this is the big tackle on John Payne. Bang, down he goes. You felt that all right. And there you could see, yes, it was Milton Namo holding on, and certainly they're not too happy. But a good fight back by Tonga. I thought their heads might just drop a bit, but they've responded very well indeed. It was Ryan Smith who made that big tackle on John Payne.
Lavaka has done his bit for the night. The New South Wales Country 15 player formally retires, and Tonga is on for Tonga. Mark Lawson. Drive. Al Sharon embraces him. Cudmore rejoins. Tonga trying to disrupt, and Canada trying to break off, which they've done successfully. That's Mark Lawson. It's a good drive by the Canadians. Al Sharon, Mark Lawson sets the ball to ground. They've made good yardage there, hard yards by the forwards. Ryan Smith looks for a gap, and he's hit hard by John Payne. Now it's Fife for Stanley to chase.
There we go, that's a bit of tit for tat. Ryan Smith this time the recipient of a heavy tackle.
They are called the Friendly Islands, Tonga, or the Land of Love. That's until you play rugby against them. Number 19 on is Fenakitau, Ippolito Fenakitau. And he replaces Nisifolo Nafahu. Fenakitau, blind side against Wales, open side against Italy. Very versatile player indeed.
Decision, please. Come line out. Oh.
Throw that straight.
Wait for the second hold.
Well, can Canada repeat another backline move, this time just outside the 22? Should have a bit of confidence now. Quick ball.
Morgan Williams, Bob Ross. Winston Stanley again involved. It's Quentin Fife. They did have the extra man there, did Canada, if the pass to Fife had been a better one. And once more it was Fife who was outside. That's a good drive forward by Tuamo Heloa. Penalty to Tonga. Martins wants the ball so he can take it quickly, but he's not going to get it.
Well, I've always wondered why referees, when they give the penalty, their next job should be to look where the ball is and making sure that the side that's conceded the penalty does not drag the ball away, kick it away, what have you. And that should be their next job after giving the penalty. They don't need to do anything else.
Nil play. I always thought teams that played against Northampton should do that more, because Matt Dawson was always the first man to the ball for Northampton to take it quickly. So keep it away from him. Not that I would encourage cheating. Toikapa. Crooked feet, advantage to Canada. Morgan Williams to Bob Ross, again looking for that width. De Girolamo. Winston Stanley's on the left wing, and he was tackled without the ball.
Well, the ball was going to him, though. To be fair to Fafita, I think it was, who was closing in. I thought it was man and ball, but here we go. Here's the pass from Girolamo. Yeah, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. Close enough.
Where did you play your rugby? The World Wrestling Federation?
I was thinking of you in one of Martin's haircuts from that angle. It looks fantastic.
Well, the Canadian front row penalised. Oh, and that was a poor pass from Tuamo Heloa. Not 10 metres though, the Canadians. Penalised. Need to calm down a little bit here, Tonga. 14 points to 7 to the Canadians, but they do have a chance of getting back in this game. It's still too tight to call.
I'd go for goal if I was them, but I'm not them, and they're going for touch. So that's what Afiaki, the captain, has instructed Holler to do. The last time they were down here, the line-out went awry, so they better get it right this time for their sakes.
Mayasi, the experienced hooker, comes on. He's started twice for the Tongans. He would be first choice. Against Wales, New Zealand he played. 20th cap now. Plays for Penzance in Cornwall. So we'll know where to get the cider after the game. Now, a little bit more accuracy required. Well, it wasn't that good a throw into the line-out, but Milton Namo did well to get his hands to it. Ball not knocked forward. Metre short, it's a good drive for the Tongans again. The forwards have played well in this match. Desperation defending from Canada, just managing to drive the Polynesians into touch.
Andy Turner, the touch judge, adjudicating that ball was out. Morgan Williams, the scrum half, who's underneath all that. His head's on the line, and he's got the ball in his hand, so that's a fair decision. The line-out will come back to the 5-metre mark, I think I'm right in saying.
Well, Dave Clark has 20 minutes left as an international coach with the Canadian side. He's also the rugby coaching director at the Australian Institute of Sport, or rather he was, between 88 and 96. The Canadian forwards have been helped out of this Rugby World Cup by Topo Rodriguez, you might remember, who played in the front row for Argentina and Australia. And they get the line out. Mark Lawson, Josh Jackson, that's a well-worked line out, well-timed. It's one of the great shots of this Rugby World Cup is Mike James getting a free chariot ride. Well, it's better than Disney World out there at the moment. Bob Ross, long kick, not an accurate kick. The ball goes back to the Tongans. Now here's Vaki. The frenetic Viliami Vaki. Holla. No, it's on now. It's definitely on for Tonga now. This is a great break by Hufanga. Maybe should have used the numbers outside because there was plenty of Tongan support there. Now it's Mayasi just outside that Canadian 22. Hands off the ball, says Alain Roland. But the Canadian defence is restructured now. It was too slow, the ball. That's better again. Great rugby by the Tongans. Number 21 is Hufanga. What an impact he's made since he came on, but they've knocked the ball forward there. And that's twice Hufanga has been incisive.
Well, that's twice that he's actually changed the line and put a bit of gas on it. There he goes, he sees the gap. Now that he's unlucky because the other players don't get to him, and it's their responsibility to get to him. And that's where he comes in on a closer ball. Much sharper, much more pace, much more penetration. So Tonga looking good here, and it's just a question of converting something.
Well, he is one of the few home-based players in his first Rugby World Cup, and you wonder why he's home-based. He might be home-based for much longer if he plays like that.
There's a few scouts about, as they say.
Jeff Reid started at number 8 against New Zealand. The Victoria University player, who actually played with John Eales at the Brothers Club in '97. He's about to come on. Coming up tomorrow on ITV2, the Battle of York Park. Launceston is the venue for Tasmania's first ever rugby test, as Romania match it with Namibia from 8:40 a.m. The website itv.com/RWC. Jimmy Cudmore is replaced. Canadian scrummage. Morgan Williams, Bob Ross. Finds a good touch this time.
Well, Tonga's still got plenty of time in order to not get back in the game, but certainly convert a try gets them a draw. So I just wonder whether they should have gone for one of those penalty kicks and got a 14-10 and got within one score. That's certainly what I would have elected to do. But not their way, and that's a shocking throw.
Well, that's a Mario Ledesma, that one. Josh Jackson goes to ground. Morgan Williams. Bob Ross looks for the gap. Good tackle by Fenukita. Girolamo. Sean Foth. That was high by Ben-Hur Cavallo. It was just a slap, really. Fingernail no more, but it could have been a lot worse. Morgan Williams, and there's not too many defenders back. The bounce is important here for Canada. It's taken by Josh Jackson inside that Tongan 22. They must get quick ball here and spin it wide to Girolamo. Tongan defence is solid at the moment. It's picked up by number 19, Jeff Reid. Ruck ball, Morgan Williams to Bob Ross. Can he weave some more magic for these Canadians? It's Mike James in midfield on his 50th appearance. Williams. Lawson now. Bob Ross at scrum half. Jeff Reid. Released at last. Mark Lawson trying to set a platform for the big forwards. Bob Ross once more decides to go on the blind side. That's Quentin Fife. Good field position this here. Bob Ross once more decides on blind. Winston Stanley looked as if he was blind as he knocks on.
pity, because it was a great passage of play from Canada, and to have it finish with a self-enforced error is not what you want. But I think the Tongans are beginning to get a bit weary up front, and there's certainly a few of them down. They've had the reinforcements on, the fresh legs and all that, but it's Milton Namu, number 4, who's feeling the pace of it. This was the high one from Cavallo, I think, which is not certainly too bad, but that's pretty uppish as well, actually.
He almost got his nose picked there, Sean Fife, by Ben-Hur Cavallo. Yeah, Winston Stanley there, who knocked on. Great player for Leicester, of course, played in the Heineken Cup winning side. But this Tongan team have had a very, very difficult schedule over a very short space of time, and it can't be easy for them stamina-wise to keep going and keep going.
Well, it's, people will recall, it was only 4 or 5 days ago they suffered a 90-point drubbing. Oh, that is high from Cavallo on Mike James. He does well to stay on his feet on that one. But yeah, when you get a 90-point hiding at the weekend, here we are Wednesday night. Difficult call.
Big spin on the scrummage by Canada, putting Martins in all sorts of trouble. It's Cavallo playing emergency scrum half, but he was pulled in by a Canadian hand. Just 62 clubs in Tonga, spread over, would you believe, 169 volcanic islands, a population of just 110,000. And despite that, they have produced, as I mentioned, Lomu, Willie Ofahangawe and the Kefu brothers, amongst others. So there's great talent there. Salilo Martins, it's a poor pass from Martins. It's gone backwards, says the referee, so play on. In goes Hufanga to create the bridge. Salilo Martins now driving forward, it's Maisi, the replacement hooker. Halfway line. Martins, Holla. And here he is again, Hufanga. What a game Hufanga has had. Winston Stanley with the tackle. The support is there from Vaki. Vaki goes, more like it from Tonga. Held on to the ball brilliantly well, did Vaki there. Temptation must have been to let it go. Johnny, Payne and now Holla. But they've lost the momentum here. I'd like to see the geography of the replay, though, to see if Hufanga should have passed, but they still might get somewhere through Fenakito. Afiaki, the captain, he's already scored a try in this match. That's Fonua. Fenakito picks up. Set for Martins. Oh, well, that's a pity. It became complete confusion in the end, but once more, well, Hufanga's looked supreme since he came on.
Well, in the game of few clear-cut breaks, Hufanga's made all 3. Once again, look at the line, the angle that he came in on. Williams went far too high, the pace does that, and it's only Winston Stanley's desperate tackle at the end that prevents a certain score, and this is when it all ends up a few moments later with a knock-on from Martins.
But I think you're right, Hufanga's coming in there so hard and so fast, he's getting away from all his support. There's no one there, he's just almost too good. He really has spliced his way through on 3 occasions now. Surgical performance from the replacement. Well, Mike James appears to be struggling there. Another great servant in this Canadian pack. Former Stade Francais player, Canada's most capped lock. Who played again in that 2001 Heineken Cup final against Leicester. What a match that was. Palu is on for Ledger, so Tonga close to using their full raft of replacements as Josh Jackson waits and gives the ball to Morgan Williams. Back to Bob Ross. He's missed a lot of touch kicks down this side in particular, and it's picked up by Palu immediately into the action. Here's Pierre Holla. Now here's Vaki. He's supposed to be a flanker, but he pops up absolutely everywhere, this fella. Holla. Good period of pressure from Tonga. Lot of possession. Mayasi.
Held, you must release the tackle.
No, must release it. You heard Alan Roller, I'm sure there. Must release in the tackle. So Viliamo Maisi gives away the penalty. But it's been good pressure from Tonga in this last 10 minutes.
It has. He's held there. He gets up without releasing the ball. Penalty, quite right. Mike James, the Canadian lock, is really struggling. He's got a left ankle heavily strapped. So whether he can... in fact, I think he has. Yeah, he's just been replaced now.
Yeah, Mike James is off. 50 counts for him. Great day for him. Colin Hughes replaces him. Colin Hughes in the squad because John Tate wasn't available due to an illness in the family as a daughter was undergoing medical treatment. Well, they've regrouped well there with Canada. We've seen a couple of fine driving mauls from the Mounties in this game. Again, it's the missed move in midfield, and it's Quentin Fife coming into the line from fullback. Bob Ross gets it out. Jackson drives in. Morgan Williams, Bob Ross, Quentin Fife, the step this time. That's more like it. Winston Stanley on the outside. Support from De Girolamo. Williams looking to spin it now, but Quentin Fife decides on the step. It's a good tackle from Holla eventually. Canadian pack in the ascendancy here. Winston Stanley to Bob Ross. Al Sharon. Oh, and he was absolutely cream-crackered there. And he went down hard, and I tell you what, I mean, that was vicious, and it looked vicious, and I think Sharon is clean out, and there's already blood pouring from his mouth, and this is not a good scene.
Please, just take it back for a second.
No, it most certainly is not. Fortunately, none of the Canadian players went in and climbed in on the Tongan culprit, but you can just see there, that is. Oh, and here's the inside pass from Ross. And there's one already tackled, just had to go there, and that's a shoulder-led charge. There's no arms going round there at all. Well, maybe, I think it's hollow, isn't it? The fly half. It's not something you'd normally put down to a fly half.
Please stay away.
No, it's not, but it was a head. His head came straight into the face of Al Sharon. It was a brutal collision. I'd like to see it again to see if there was intention from Holla, but I mean the contact was, well, cataclysmic for Al Sharon, and what a way this would be, a really sad way for him to finish his international career.
Of that there's no doubt. Al Sharon, who's been a stalwart, to put it mildly, of this Canadian rugby scenario for so many years now, and has done unbelievably. He shouldn't be on the pitch in my way. I mean, up to him, it's his knee, not mine. But with his cruciate, went 4 months ago. He's had revolutionary surgery on it, and as the physio said, an aggressive physiotherapy process on it. But the law states in a tackle, you've got to try and put your arms round part of the body of the person you're tackling. The referee
he was cut off his mark.
Is now saying how he interprets that situation, but it's not going to be a penalty to Canada.
I didn't see it to be illegal. I'm not interested in what I see on the video. It's what I saw here first up. This is not going to change my mind. That's why I'm not even looking at it. I'm being fair. I saw a fair tackle. If I'm proven wrong afterwards, well then that's my problem. Okay.
Well, fair call, Alan Roland. I mean, he's made his decision. That's what he's paid to do, and he is paid to do it. If Canada wish to cite a Tongan player afterwards, that process is in place. But as I was saying, the tackler has got to try and get his arms around a part of the body, and I'm not sure if Holla was intending to do that, or whether it was a shoulder charge of enormous power. But this is, when a man's down for this long, it's no fun for anybody, for obvious reasons.
really would like to see it again. I mean, Holla had his head down as he went into contact, and I think he was looking either at the ball or where he thought the ball might end up, and it was the very top of his head that hit Al Sharon in the face. I certainly would agree the tackle was high anyway, because that's not the, well, the bush tackle high, but that's what the collision was. It was the top of his head in Al Sharon's face.
Yeah, it certainly wasn't a swinging arm, or I don't think it started high, to be honest with you. I think he may have gone in at a certain angle, which then meant he went higher as a result of on impact. But rather than watch them stand around, it'd be nice to see it again, to try and get a clear-cut view of it. But Al Sharon's been well seen to, and obviously the other lads have got a ball out there now and just making sure they keep warm, because it must be 4 or 5 minutes worth now, I suspect, that this is this has gone on for. That's obviously, that might be Mr. Sharon, I don't know.
Just listen to the referee there. I mean, the concern is that he was unconscious before he hit the ground. I mean, that was immediately apparent to us here in the commentary position, and that, I imagine, is why there is so much concern. Alan Rowland is doing exactly the right thing. He's giving the medical team all the time that they need to sort the man out. A lot of this is precaution, and quite often looks a lot worse than it is, but they must give the man, especially when it's a head injury, they must give him adequate and precise treatment.
Without question. I think also the reason why we're not seeing it again is because there's a big screen here, like there is at all the World Cup games, and if they do show it again, it will excite the crowd, but it certainly may cause some rumbles, to put it mildly, and the Canadian players see it again might think, well, we're going to do something about this. But that is a very, very sad way to see the departure of Al Sharon, the captain of Canada.
In his 4th Rugby World Cup, before the game he said it would be his 12th and final Rugby World Cup match, and what a sensational servant he has been to Canadian rugby. And if we get any news on his condition, obviously we shall bring it to you as soon as we can.
Stay back 9-9, stay back behind the ball, please.
Nivalu, clever. And that's Fanua. Fafita, so the two wingers working in tandem. Holla, Afeaki. Martins. Salilo Martins to Holla. That's Payne in midfield. Hufanga this time. They're getting a little bit more wise to him. De Girolamo making sure he doesn't get through the gap, which he's done on a hat-trick of occasions, but they've lost the ball. And here's a chance now with Ryan Smith, and the advantage is over. But you do hope, but it doesn't look as if they're going to, the way the game has restarted, that the Canadians don't think it was intentional and look for retribution.
Well, I've certainly had a chat to the referee about something there, because he's straight away given a penalty for some chit-chat. But to be fair to Alan Rowland, he did explain exactly why he was giving that scrum rather than a penalty against Holla and Tonga for the tackle on Al Sharon, and he's quite clearly said, I will take full responsibility for that, and if I get found out to be wrong, then I cop it.
Afeaki takes the ball. Here's John Payne making inroads in midfield again, where Tonga have looked most likely to smash through this Canadian defence. Straight in, diving in off the feet. And it's Mayasi, I think, once again, the hooker. Yeah, Viliami Mayasi's given away several penalties since he came on.
Well, as the ball's taken in, his player goes to ground. Bit unlucky, because Lawson was going in over the top, it seemed, as well, and going to secure the ball. So he was, I think, trying to do a positive thing. He wasn't, trying to prevent the ball from coming out.
Canada hanging on just about here. 14 points to 7, 8 minutes to go. Danger man clearly for Tonga is Suka Hufanga, the impact player. What an impact it's been.
It certainly has. He's been the standout player, as they call it over here. And Tonga, you just question whether they've got the discipline to mount enough attacks and have enough patience to get back on level terms.
Bob Ross, here's another man who's played well since he came on, Ryan Smith. Morgan Williams, a poor pass from Morgan Williams. Josh Jackson on the back foot, that's Sean Forth. Picked up by Cook. Williams, Ross, looking up. See where the gap was. And that means that the Tongans are forced to play it, and play it in a very dangerous position. And this is Fafita, and Fafita is doing remarkably well. He's a big guy, but he's not the quickest man on 2 feet. But he's given away a penalty, and it's a kickable position for Bob Ross, not releasing the ball, the decision from Alain Roland.
Well, you also can't jump a tackle either. You can't jump a tackle, that should be in the first penalty. You're not allowed to do that. But then he didn't let go of the ball, and Bob Ross is going to go for goal to take Canada more than 1 score ahead, I suspect.
Yes, there was a touch of the Colin Jacksons about that from Tila Fafita from the Oamura Old Boys Club. It's a big kick this for Canada, because the score's 14-7, 7 points the difference. Obviously a converted try for Tonga would tie things up. So this will mean they will have to score at least twice, converted try, plus 1 other, to get past the Mounties. Cool as you like, only Gareth Rees has scored more points for Canada. And they're on course now for their first victory in this Rugby World Cup. They've never gone through a World Cup without a win. And they look as if now they may maintain that record here in Wollongong.
Well, it's going to have to be all-out attack now from Tonga. They're going to have to run absolutely everything if they've got any chance of getting away from the wooden spoon position in this group.
That's Holla. Good twist and turn by Holla. Williams with a tackle. It's the 22. Afiaki. He was turned by Colin Hughes. Did well to get the ball back. Here's Holla again. And coming into the line is Palu. Good field position once more. Vaki kept it available well. Has done that on a couple of occasions very smoothly indeed. Palu with the dummy. Tackled by Lawson. It's Vaki again. Vaki. Support is there. A metre short, Tonga. Did they ground it? Oh, it's held up. Alain Roland was right there on bended knee. Good defence by Canada, as I thought they were there.
Yes, he was perfectly positioned, the referee. Well, if he couldn't see this grounded from a couple of feet away, I suspect we're not. Interestingly, though, with Al Sharon off the pitch, I think the only player left on the bench was Abrahams, the hooker. So weight-wise and organisation in the scrum, a bit of reorganisation to do for Canada.
Tonga trapped at the bottom of that maul as they prepare to bring on another replacement, Usai Latu, who is based in Australia, former Australian under-21 cap. So one of these many Tongan squad members who play outside the friendly islands these days, as do so many of the Polynesians. And 2 more replacements coming on for Canada, Ed Fairhurst and James Pritchard. Fairhurst will slot into scrum half. Pritchard normally plays at full back, but as you say, there's lots of reshuffling going on out there with 5 minutes to go. 10 points the lead for Canada. There is Jim Love, former New Zealand Maori and All Black trialist, the Tongan coach. Martins picks up Holla. They're looking for width again. half through there was Hufanga. He is the blast bomber in this Tongan midfield. And now it's Tuamo Heloa. He just can't quite seem to breach that final line of Canadian defence. And Akita knocked forward though. And really you've got to give a lot of credit to the Canadian defence here. They have battled titanically.
Yes, they've been very tenacious. Tonga just lacking a bit of patience, a bit of organisation as well. They're just not all together as one, it seems. They've got to get something on the board very quickly. They need 2 scores, remember. And if Canada can just hold their scrum, hold their position and clear their lines, that's all they'll be wishing to do.
Remember this Canadian team, they pushed Italy, they pushed Wales, they outscored Wales by 3 tries to 2. They held New Zealand pretty much for the first 20 minutes.
Deliberate wheel given by the referee, by the Tongan scrummagers. Cramp seems to be setting in. A couple of players.
The Tongans had to play 8 matches to qualify through the repechage system, and they are usually known to be the weakest of the 3 Polynesian islands behind the Fijians and the Samoans. So it's never easy for them at this level. Josh Jackson. He's taken a vast amount of line-out ball at the tail and now moving up to the front for the Canucks. Halfway line. Fairhurst. Bob Ross. De Girolamo. He is mullered in midfield by John Payne. Did well, in fact, to get the ball back to Canadian hand. This is Sean Forth. Lawson at scrum half this time. Bob Ross looking wide to Jackson, an excellent footballer, and a bit of speed coming into the line from James Pritchard. James Pritchard is caught late. The referee plays the advantage as the ball is picked up by Fifita, and that is a penalty to Canada.
I think it was a dead right call too. I think it was there. He can pull out of that. He can pull out of that, no problem at all. It's Palu, I think, replacement fullback.
I agree with you, Teal, okay?
It's a yellow card as well. Deliberate intent and all that. Goodbye. We won't see him again this game.
He hit late. The ball was well gone. He hit late. Dangerous play. 10 minutes in the game. Thank you very much.
Akiaki said, the captain said he held his space.
He's in 15.
Well, he's got a pretty sideways way of holding his space.
22nd yellow card of this tournament. No red cards so far, incidentally, but yeah, that's definitely late on James Pritchard. And Canada could have scored a try there. Still might. Into the final minute. Looks safe for Canada now. 10-point lead. Once more, Josh Jackson. This superb athlete in this Canadian back row. One of the real finds he has been for the Canucks. They're 3 metres short. They want to finish it off in style. Alan Rowland says it's a try. And Canada secure victory on the South Pacific coast. The last man up is Aaron Abrams. A late call up to the squad after Pat Dunkley's injury. A moment of huge celebration for him. Canada 22, Tonga 7, it's all over.
Well, they stayed organised, they were united, they were all together, well driven over. Knew exactly what they wanted to do, how they were going to go about it, and how to finish this match off, and therefore finish with a win, which they'll all be feeling is the right way to depart this competition, especially for their captain, to review what's happened to him. But there's the delight. They know this game's won now.
Well, the adrenaline will be pumping for Aaron Abrams after that. James Pritchard, who survived that late hit. take the conversion attempt from Randwick with his grandfather, though, from Saskatchewan. That's how he qualifies for Canada. And he rounds things off in style as the final whistle goes here in Wollongong. And Canada have recorded a victory at the Rugby World Cup. Tonga finished bottom of their pool. They are winless, but Canada secure the points and secure the win here by 24 points to 7.